Are loops contagious? I'm a 27-year-old male living in Michigan, and I think my best friend Theo might be sick with the disease that's been plaguing our community, supposedly, since the year 2000. You've probably never heard of my town, Clawson. The only thing we're famous for is that the comedian Richard Donovan was born here. Everyone knows all about Flint and their terrible water supply. It's true what they say. I personally know people have died because of it. It's really a terrible thing. But I can't help but feel that its shadow has made the rest of the world, even citizens of our own town, myself included, unaware of this Clawson-borne virus. They call it a loops inflammation, or loops for short. The first time I was exposed to it was about 10 years ago at Theo's house. When I was growing up, I had two best friends. Carol was outgoing, smart, and always down for anything. Theo, the class clown, center of attention, and a general good time. I guess I was somewhere in between. We were a perfect little trio. In high school, Theo got this idea into his head about the three of us having a sleepover at his place. Carol and I were of course down, but knew none of our parents were approved. After all, we were freshmen in high school, and a girl at a boy's sleepover would get shut down by any one of our devout Catholic parents. Theo concocted a plan for us to sneak in through his basement. The sliding glass door that led into his basement could move without making a sound, so we opted to give it a shot. We were quite impressed with ourselves that Friday night, playing Mario Kart and drinking soda, all under the snores of Theo's blissfully unaware parents. But we got too bold trying to finagle a pizza delivery. Despite our instructions to meet us at the fence by the side of the yard, the pizza boy went straight to the front. As soon as that doorbell rang through the house, we knew we were finished. The heavy thumps of Theo's father, Frank, knew we didn't have much time. Carol looked around in a panic. Maybe we should go? Theo, no, don't go, guys, just hide. I wasn't so sure, but there was a desperation in Theo's eyes, like it would truly have broken his heart if we had abandoned him at that moment. Sorry, boys. My parents are supposed to take me to Adventure Valley this summer. I'm not taking any chances. Carol grabbed her bag and shot out the back door. I looked to Theo, wanting to make it right. Where should I hide? From behind a giant empty box that once housed the parts to a treadmill, I watched as Theo sat crisscross on the carpet floor. Frank's footsteps were heavy as they flew down the sets of stairs leading to our hideaway. I had known Theo for 3 or so years at this point and had met his father on multiple occasions, but I had never seen him like this. He had a serious look on his face, gravely serious, like his boy had just crashed a brand new car. He dropped the pizza coldly to the floor. "Who's here?" Theo tried to play it off cool, but the tremble in his voice was undeniable. Nobody. Frank extended his fat arm out, a single sausage finger pointed erect towards the back end of the room. Then what's that? My backpack sat laying against the sliding glass door, my name written in Sharpie in my mother's handwriting. Theo began to speak up. He just let me borrow. James, where are you? I felt like I was choking onto my own breath. Come out now, and I won't call your mother. Even though I was much more afraid of Frank than my mother in this moment, I decided it was as good a time as any to surrender. A look of disappointment swallowed Theo's face as I appeared from behind my cardboard veil. I hung my head, staring at the fuzzy carpet below. Sorry, sir, it won't happen again. Nothing. I kept waiting, expecting something, but there was nothing, just Theo starting to whimper, crying as softly as he possibly could. I looked over to him and he muttered, "Get out of here, man." I couldn't believe how broken up he was, but then I looked up at Frank. He looked excited. The distinct feeling that a stranger was in the room with us overcame me. Like some wild coyote, it just meandered into the room, and any wrong move could spell our demise. "Go." Theo exhaled between chattering teeth. My instincts took over, my body a step ahead of my mind as I scrambled towards the sliding glass door. As I turned to shut it close behind me, I saw little Theo looking up at his father, hulking over him. My gut wrenched. Then I saw something peculiar. Theo's father lifted his right sleeve, exposing his right upper arm, and on it was a red ring, a seemingly perfect circular loop of red, irritated flesh. I didn't think much of it. A rash, or maybe a tattoo, I thought. I now know it wasn't. It was loops. The next day at school, I remember Theo seeming rattled from the night before. That wasn't unusual for him. It was actually quite often that he would be randomly sullen or non-social. I was just chalked it up to him being a moody kid. My big sister always said he probably had bipolar or something. But after last night, I felt I understood my friend a lot more now. We didn't talk about it, though. I mean, what was there to say? I think we both just wanted to move on from it. It was just scary and sad. The only thing Theo had to say on the matter was that we did not share any of what happened with Carol. It was imperative for some reason. I was happy to oblige, anything to make him feel a little less terrible about the whole thing. When Carol asked about how the rest of our night went, Theo launched into a whole routine about how Frank ate the entire pizza by himself in the kitchen while we watched from the bottom of the stairs holding back laughter. Even though it was a lie, I couldn't deny even I found the fabricated story to be quite amusing. I tried to add in my own details as he went along. Carol seemed thoroughly entertained, even remarking wishing she had stayed. If she only knew. As we got older, Theo, Carol, and I had plenty of misadventures. We never stayed the night at his house, though. That was fine. My family was a little bit better off than his, so he always loved coming over and playing the newest games that I had bought with my generous allowance. My parents generally let us be. Plus, as we got older, I think the idea of having a sleepover with two boys did generally become less and less appealing to Carol. I remember at one of our sleepovers, we sat staring at the newly adorned Pink Floyd tapestry on my ceiling, playing what would probably be the final game of Truth or Dare, since we were both already a bit too old to be doing this at 16 and 17 years old. We took turns asking typical high school boy stuff. Occasionally, one of us would opt for a dare and have to take a swig from my parents' liquor cupboard or run outside in their underwear. You know, really mature, cool stuff. Eventually, as the night was winding down, I asked Theo a question I had always wanted to ask him, but had never drunk the right amount of peppermint schnapps to muster. "Do you have a crush on Carol?" I asked him, slurring my words a bit. "What, Carol? Give me a break, man." "What, why not? You guys get along so well. You always make her laugh. I feel like she might like you." "No way, man. You think she likes me? Like me? I wouldn't put it past her." Theo sat in silence beside me, the thick carpet caressing our warm, buzzing teenage bodies towards sleep. "Yeah, I guess I do like her." "Nice, man, nice." On the night of our high school graduation, my mother stumbled upon Carol and Theo making out on the backyard swing, to which she told me with stupid motherly glee. I was happy for them. This summer, Theo, Carol, and I decided to take a gap year, that we'd do some adult stuff. First on the list was a trip to Los Angeles, California. We figured what better place to get a sense of what life outside of Clawson could really be like. I had just started dating a girl named Kelsey, who worked at a yogurt shop I interviewed for. She got my number from my resume, even though I didn't get the job, lol. And so the four of us would be heading west on an epic double-date adventure. So now we're catching up to the present day. About 4 days ago, we left for that trip to Los Angeles. The first stretch from Clawson to Kansas City went well enough there. There was a certain amount of positivity in the air. We took turns driving, endless highway after endless highway. However, after a while, people started getting grouchy, snickering at each other. I suggested all of us splitting a motel so we could decompress a bit. Carol agreed it would be a good idea. We all opted to stay in the same room to save costs. At what point, I went out for a smoke and Kelsey joined me. The air between Carol and Theo seemed tense. They had been bickering for the last hour of the trip about what they'd do when they got to California. Kelsey and I were glad to take a little alone time. We sat by the edge of the motel looking up at the stars. They were different here, not the same patterns and shapes we had back home. We talked about how it felt like everything in our lives were changing. That's what I loved about Kelsey. We could have these deep conversations, be vulnerable. Eventually, we decided to head back and get some rest before hitting the road the next day. Upon returning, we found Carol sitting on the stairs of the motel, her face buried in her palms, whimpering. We immediately sat next to her and asked what was wrong. She was hesitant to say anything sincere. She just kept repeating, "I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm just tired, I'm fine." Eventually, I backed off, figuring maybe she just wanted to talk to another girl. Kelsey began rubbing her back as I re-entered our room. I heard the sink running in the bathroom, steam pouring out across the red shaggy flooring. The door was wide open, so I assumed Theo was just shaving or something. However, as I approached, I got that old feeling again.
Like some stranger was in this room, some wild animal that had lost its way. As I bended the corner, I caught a glimpse of Theo in the mirror. He had one of those cheap complimentary rags pressed up against his neck. Except there were splotches of blood speckled down the side. He was rubbing it up and down forcefully, his chin cocked up to make his skin taut. Through the clearing of the rag's rapid motion, I saw the flicker of a faint red loop emanating from beneath his skin. His eyes darted, making contact with mine, and the door slammed shut. I felt like I was in Theo's backyard, gazing through the sliding glass door all over again. But I had to let it go. We had hundreds of miles to go. So, the rest of the trip to California was fine. Theo was wearing a coat with a high collar the next day. I didn't bother to ask. Carol was generally quiet. She would occasionally make meek jokes with Kelsey and I, but otherwise kept to herself. However, last night when we arrived in Los Angeles, the mood changed completely. We were all awestruck with how exciting and larger than life everything felt compared to Clawson, Michigan. The palm trees, skyscrapers, it was just mesmerizing. We did a couple touristy things and then began finding creative ways to get our hands on booze. The alcohol always helped take the edge off, and had Carol, Theo, and I quickly returning to our stupid freshman goofballs with the right dosage. Ultimately, we had a fabulous first night in the City of Angels. This morning, everybody woke up hungover as a wet towel. I had always handled my alcohol better than the rest of the gang, and I was actually feeling particularly restless, so I opted to take a little day to explore the city on my lonesome. I meandered around all different parts of town, music shops, arcades, taco stands, you name it, I did it. I was having a beautiful LA day. Just a couple hours ago, I sat down at the Sunset Diner to get a late lunch. A TV above the bar was playing the local news, and the headline of the afternoon caught my attention. Stand-up comedian Richard Donovan, arrested for kidnapping and murdering a nightclub waitress. The mugshot was not flattering. His receding hairline exposed, a soulless expression plastered on his face, but most noticeably, a small red loop right beneath his left eyelid. It must have only taken up a couple hundred pixels on the TV screen, but it was screaming out to me. The story made no mention of it, just went on to tell vague retellings of the timeline of the events. I felt like the world was a rug that had just been yanked right from under me. My consciousness tumbling backwards, falling over itself again and again. I held onto the diner table like a lap bar on a roller coaster until I felt my body return to some sort of equilibrium. My first instinct was to call my mom. I can't explain why, other than I was stressed and wanted to confide in someone I felt like I knew. My phone was dead, but the receptionist was nice enough to let me place a call in the landline. I had a phone call with my mother, something I rarely do. I told her about the loops, the one I saw on Frank, the one I saw on Theo, the one I saw on Richard Donovan. There was a heavy sigh over the other end of the phone. "Honey, you really don't know?" I felt like I was being told Santa doesn't exist again. She went on to explain that Clawson, since around 2000, has this secret, Lupus inflammation. It's a virus, I think. Half the people in Clawson have it. People say it's because of the water supply, but I don't think anybody really knows where it comes from. Does anybody in our family have it? I asked. I don't think so. Is it contagious? Everybody has a different opinion. I spent the next hour in the bathroom checking my whole body over. I found a few red areas, a mole I didn't know about, but otherwise, I think I'm clear. I'm in a cafe now just down the street from our hotel. I can't explain it, but I'm just terrified to go back now. That's why I've just typed this out. I was hoping it could help me make sense of all this. Frankly, I don't know that it has. It's clear this disease is dangerous, seemingly making normal people lash out. If anyone here has heard or knows anyone who's been through something similar, I'd really appreciate hearing from you. Especially if you know for a fact if it's contagious. If anything additional happens, I'll update here if anyone cares to hear more.